The poor mechanic she rejected became her sister's billionaire husband. In a world where appearances deceive and pride blinds the heart, one woman's shallow choices would cost her more than she ever imagined. This is not just a love story, it's a tale of karma, hidden identity, and poetic justice. She rejected a poor mechanic, only to watch him return, not just rich, but married to her own sister. Stay with us, as we uncover the twists, secrets, and shocking truth in this emotional African tale that will leave you speechless. The early morning sun spilled gently over the rooftops of Lagos mainland, casting long golden streaks across rusted zincs and dusty balconies. A rooster crowed nearby, stubbornly announcing a new day, as if anyone in the neighborhood needed reminding. Inside a modest bungalow, two sisters sat on wooden chairs, eating silently from their plates. They were sisters by blood, but worlds apart in every other way. "Lizzy, come and take this your lipstick off my mirror," Mama Dora's voice echoed as she stepped into the room, wrapper tightly tied across her chest, headscarf slightly slanted. Lizzy rolled her eyes, with her usual flair. "Mama, must everything be complaint?" "It's just lipstick, Mama." Stephanie said nothing. She quietly pushed a small piece of yam to her mouth. "I'll clean the mirror," she said softly. Lizzy scoffed. "Of course you will." Saint Stephanie to the rescue as usual. Their mother paused, her eyes moving between them. "Lizzy, one day, your mouth will write a check your heart cannot cash. And you, Mama, one day you'll realize Stephanie is not an angel. She's just smart enough to hide her stubbornness under silence." There were 3 of them living in a 2-room flat, Mama Dora, Lizzy, and Stephanie. Since their father's death 6 years ago, things had never truly recovered. The shop he owned was taken by relatives. The small savings Mama Dori had was spent on keeping the girls in school. But school taught them different lessons. Lizzy studied marketing, but her true education came from social media, luxury boutiques, and Lagos nightlife. She learned how to speak in soft life lingo, pose like a slay queen, and identify a man's income from the make of his shoes. Stephanie, on the other hand, studied tailoring under a local designer in the mainland. She didn't have many friends. Her joy was in sewing, reading novels, and writing in her prayer journal at night. One Sunday afternoon, the conversation turned to love. Stephanie was trimming fabric pieces for a gown. Lizzy was painting her fingernails, with a pose. "Mama said Auntie Frida's son just returned from Canada," Stephanie said, casually. "He's asking about a wife. A quiet girl, home-trained." Lizzy laughed so hard her cotton swab fell. "I beg leave that one. You mean you want to marry one man from Canada that can't even dress? I saw his pictures. He looks like export yam." Stephanie smiled. "He's humble. He doesn't even post on social media." "Exactly," Lizzy exclaimed. "No presence. No sense of branding. If you like, suffer with him. Me? I'm marrying a man who smells like money and drives sense." "You might marry a man who smells like perfume but drives debt," Stephanie said calmly. The room went quiet. Lizzy stared at her. "Are you mocking me?" "No," Stephanie replied. "I'm just reminding you, not every Benz is owned, not every house is owned too." The next day at her working place, a man wearing a mechanic overall entered the boutique. His eyes caught Lizzy and he approached her. When he spoke to her, Lizzy insulted and rained curses on him. "Young lady, we are not fighting. I only asked if we can be friends and nothing more," he said. "God punish that your mouth. Do I look like your class? Lizzy baby, you don't suffer. A mechanic? Please don't try this rubbish ever again in your miserable life." Kane quietly left the boutique. He wasn't pained by her words because he's used to such reactions. Lizzy had her hope on one Lagos big boy. She didn't need her mother's blessings or her sister's approval. There was a new guy who'd been coming to her boutique. He wore sunglasses inside the shop, carried the scent of Tom Ford cologne, and once tipped a waitress with a bundle of Naira notes. His name was Tunji, or so he claimed. "Baby girl," he had told her once, his hand slightly on her, "I like soft women who carry themselves like queens. You're a queen, Lizzy." She blushed for 3 days. He said he worked in oil and gas. He never gave details. His calls came mostly at night. He never stayed long in one location. But Lizzy didn't care. He promised her Dubai. Promised her a Benz. She had already imagined her bridal shower. While Lizzy built castles in the air, Stephanie was facing real-life troubles. Her sewing machine had started giving her problems. The pedal jammed often, and the tension refused to hold the thread right. One afternoon, frustrated and sweating, she pushed the machine outside to get some fresh air. That's when she met him. A man in dusty and greased blue mechanic overalls, and a calm smile that didn't belong to this city's rush, walked over to Stephanie casually. "Excuse me," he said. "I don't mean to intrude. I overheard you complaining. Can I look at the machine?" Stephanie looked at him cautiously. "You're a tailor?" He smiled. "No. A mechanic. But most machines are just combinations of tension, timing, and patience." She stepped aside. In 10 minutes, he opened the panel, adjusted the belt, and oiled the gear. The machine purred like a newborn cat. Stephanie stared. "You did it." He smiled. "My name is Kenneth. But friends call me Kane." "Stephanie," she said. "May I come again? Just in case you spoil it on purpose." They laughed. Something soft had begun. In the days that followed, the contrast became louder. Lizzy would return home late, smelling of expensive perfume, tossing shopping bags onto her bed. She spoke loudly on the phone, often faking British accents. Stephanie would return early, carrying thread rolls and measuring tapes, her fingers marked by pin pricks, her shoulders tired but content. Lizzy mocked her. "You look like a tailor from 1982. Stephanie would respond. Better to be a tailor from 1982 than the latest trending topic for heartbreak. One night, their mother called them both to her room. "My daughters," she began, her voice weary but firm. "I'm getting old. My eyes have seen plenty. I have only one prayer: may you both marry men who love your soul." "Mama," Lizzy interrupted, "love doesn't pay rent." "And yet," Mama Dora said, "greed doesn't build a home." She turned to Stephanie. "You, be careful not to fall for pity. Not every man in rags is humble. Some are simply irresponsible." Then she turned to Lizzy. "And you, stop chasing shadows. A man may drive a big car and still not know where he's going." As silence wrapped around the room as she left, their hearts drifting in different directions. One heart longed for peace. The other, for power. Neither knew what fate was about to unleash. The Lagos sun doesn't rise, it announces itself. By 8 a.m., it was already bullying the tarred roads the mainland. Car horns clashed like cymbals, KK drivers shouted insults through windows, and the scent of frying puff-puff mixed with vehicle smoke created that signature city perfume, suffocating but familiar. Elsewhere, at her workplace, outside Luxury Looks Boutique, Lizzy stood with her iPhone. She wore a well-fitted white jumpsuit and heels she could barely walk in, but confidence was half the battle, wasn't it? She didn't notice Kane walk past the shop outside, carrying a toolbox. Or she didn't want to. One afternoon, outside Luxury Looks Boutique, a sleek black Mercedes-Benz purred like a promise. Tunji stepped out wearing deep blue well-tailored suit, sunglasses on, Rolex watch, gold chain dancing against his chest. He looked like a Nollywood prince. "Let's spoil ourselves today," he excitedly said to Lizzy, over the phone. She urgently rushed outside the shop, her voice rose 2 octaves. "Baby." He opened the door like a gentleman. She slid in, imagining paparazzi snapping pictures. They drove off toward Victoria Island. They drove past Kane, wearing his greasy overalls, walking, carrying his toolbox. He didn't frown. He simply whispered, "Not everything that shines is gold." Inside the car, Lizzy and Tunji laughed and mocked him. Lizzy asked, "So, where to?" "Somewhere soft," he replied. "You deserve to be seen." Lizzy giggled. "I like when you talk like that." Tunji's phone rang. He frowned and quickly silenced it. "You're always getting calls," she said, eyes narrowing. "Oil deals, baby. Stress of being wealthy. But you're my peace." She blushed. She didn't know the car was borrowed. She didn't know the chain was fake. She didn't know the wallet in his pocket had only one working ATM card, and it was empty. That same afternoon, Stephanie struggled to carry a roll of fabric from the market. The weight nearly bent her in half. "Madam," UWN turned to Taylor Hunchback, a trader teased. "Fashion work no day easy my brother," she responded. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "Let me help." She turned. Kenneth, already reaching for the fabric. "Kane. You're here again. I came to return your spanner. But God used it as an excuse to send me on an errand." She handed over the fabric with a grateful sigh. "You always show up at the right time." "That's what mechanics do," he grinned. "We fix what's broken." Stephanie quickly looked away before her heart gave away her thoughts. That afternoon, Stephanie offered him fruit juice inside her shop. They sat side by side on a wooden bench. "So, what do you really want to do with your life?" she asked. Kane sipped the juice. "Leave quietly. Build something meaningful. Maybe start a place for kids to learn real skills." "You're not like most men I know." "Good or bad?" he asked. "Real," she said. They both smiled, and for a moment, he looked away, ashamed of the lie he was living. The next day, Kane was in Victoria Island to help a customer. As he passed through the main street near a boutique, he heard Lizzy's loud voice. She was standing with two of her friends. "And I swear," Lizzy was saying, "this is the mechanic guy that had the audacity to ask me out last week. EB like say Poverty Day make people bold, imagine." Her friends laughed. One of them added, "Maybe he thought you're a mechanic's girlfriend." Lizzy flipped her hair. "Over my dead body. I didn't suffer in university to end up cooking for some man in grease and slippers." They laughed again. Kane walked past them, unfazed by their mockery. He wasn't hurt because she insulted mechanics. He was hurt because it confirmed everything he suspected. Lizzy couldn't see people without checking their wallets first. He turned away quietly and continued on his path. Meanwhile, back home, Mama Dora was feeling sick. Stephanie bought medicines which made her feel better. While Stephanie was busy in her shop, Kane arrived. She smiled. "You look tired." "I am." "Sit." He Saturday. They didn't speak for several minutes. Just the sound of thread pulling through fabric. "Your machine is still not performing very well." "Yes, I am just managing it, but at least the performance has improved since the last time you serviced it." After a bit of silence, Kane said, "You know, some people love status more than soul." Stephanie looked at him. "But soul remains after status fades." Their eyes locked. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. A week later, Kane showed up with a small package. "A gift," he said. She opened it. It was a brand new sewing machine. Her jaw dropped. "Kane, this is expensive. I got a discount." "You shouldn't have." "I wanted to," she said. "No one has ever done this for me." He smiled. "Now you can make gowns without the machine fighting you." She whispered, "I pray God blesses you. More than you expect." He looked at her, heart pounding. If only she knew how true her words were. Meanwhile, Lizzy was living a dream. Tunji took her to a rooftop restaurant. He knelt in front of everyone, held out a small box, and said, "Marry me." Everyone gasped. Lizzy screamed. "Yes." Except, there was no ring in the box. Just a note that said, "Patience, baby. This is just the teaser." She laughed it off, and posted it on social media with the caption, "Engaged to the man of my dreams, soft life activated." She had no idea she had just proposed to a mirage. 2 days later, Kane received a call. His head of security said, "Sir, we've tracked him. His real name is Tunde Obafemi. He's wanted in Abuja for defrauding 2 women of 4 million naira." Kane's jaw tightened. "Monitor him closely. Don't act yet." Then, he picked up his phone and opened Stephanie's number. He didn't call. He just stared at it and closed it. Because fate was already preparing the lesson. The days turned to weeks. The rains came early that year, washing the Lagos skyline in thick grey clouds and thunder that grumbled like a warning from the gods. The gutters overflowed. The city still moved, but it moved with damp feet, umbrellas, and tired bones. But beneath the clouds, Something bright was growing quietly in the shade of a small tailoring shop. Stephanie had started keeping a second chair beside her table. She never said why. She didn't tell Mama Dora either. But every afternoon, Kenneth would walk in, carrying one thing or another, takeaway jollof rice, fried plantains, suya, and juice. They would sit together and eat. Sometimes, they barely spoke. Sometimes, they laughed like they had known each other in another life. One afternoon, Stephanie asked, "You don't have family in Lagos?" "I do," he replied. "Where are they?" "All around. Some know me. Some don't." She raised a brow. Mysterious man. He shrugged. "I like peace. When people think they know who you are, they put you in a box." She nodded, slowly understanding. "Some people love boxes," she said. "It makes them feel important." He smiled. "But you stitch open boxes." At luxury look boutiques, things weren't glowing so brightly anymore. Lizzy had begun noticing little signs, like the way Tunji always paid in cash and avoided using his bank app. Or the way he would borrow her phone to make business calls, and delete the call history afterward. Still, she silenced her instincts. She believed in manifesting wealth, and doubts didn't belong in that picture. Until the boutique owner, Madame Coco, confronted her. "Lizzy, now you give this man my POS code." "Ma." "Which man?" "The man you follow, Tunji. He came here last week and bought items. Now 2 of my suppliers are saying the transfers bounced." Lizzy felt a chill. "No, Ma. He's rich, he wouldn't do that." Madame Coco squinted. "Then let him return here. If not, I'll involve police." Back in Stephanie's shop, Kenneth was seated beside Stephanie as she struggled with a complicated neckline. "You're overthinking it," he said. "I want it perfect." "You always want everything perfect." She looked at him. "Why are you still here?" she asked, quietly. "I mean, every day, you come, help me fix things. But you don't really talk about you." He turned toward her. Their faces were barely inches apart. "I come because I like how your silence speaks," he said. She looked down, heart racing. "That's not an answer." He leaned back slowly. "I'm trying to give the truth time to grow." Stephanie didn't understand that statement yet. But her spirit felt its weight. One hot Saturday, Kenneth and Stephanie visited the local market to buy lining fabric. They walked side by side, blending like old friends. Her heart was no longer under repair, it was melting. 2 days later, Liz's social media handle crashed under reality. One of her boutique colleagues secretly leaked Tunji's voice note asking to borrow 50,000 Nigerian nairas. "Baby, things are tight. Just for a day. I'll send back double." It went viral. Her followers turned. At Queen Ada, soft life with borrowed data. At I Am Kells, why do slay queens always date Yahoo starters? Lizzy cried for hours. Tunji wouldn't pick her calls. He finally replied with a text. "Things are messy now. Need space. I'll be in touch." He never was. One Thursday evening, Kane and Stephanie sat in her shop. "I want to tell you something," Kane began. Stephanie waited. "My real name isn't Kane." She blinked. "What?" He looked away. "I mean, it is. But there's more." She leaned closer. "Then tell me." He hesitated. If he told her now, would she change? Would she look at him like everyone else did once they knew? Instead, he stood. "Soon. I'll tell you soon." She didn't push. She just smiled. "Okay. I'll wait." That night, Lizzy was in her room, eyes red, makeup streaked. She once again tried to call Tunji on phone and yet no answer. Without speaking, Lizzy on the bed wept. Later, as she sat with Stephanie, she lamented, "I thought I had him. I thought I won. But the whole thing was a lie. You didn't lose a man. You lost a mirror that lied to you." Lizzy nodded. Stephanie comforted her with words. In his apartment on the island, Kane stared at his phone screen, looking at the picture he secretly took of Stephanie while she was busy sewing in her shop. She was radiant. Not from money. Not from clothes. From something deeper. He whispered, "She passed." Then, he stood, walked to his private closet, and pulled out a briefcase. Inside it, diamond cufflinks, an Obasi Holdings business cards, and a ring. Lagos has a way of wrapping lies in ribbons. It dresses them up, takes them to brunch, snaps filtered pictures, and parades them across timelines like truth. But time always peels back makeup. And on this Friday morning, truth came for Lizzy. At Luxury Looks Boutique, Madame Coco turned to Lizzy again. "Lizzy, I want that man's address or I'm taking you to the police." Lizzy stood frozen, her voice weak. I don't know where he lives. He only picks me up. You call yourself classy but you don't even know your man's real address." Madame Coco fired back. Lizzy felt like the floor was pulling her in. "Clean out your locker," Madame said coldly. "You're fired." As Lizzy walked out, the weight of her silence became louder than any insult. She decided to find Tunji herself. She took a KK to the estate where he once claimed he lived. At the gate, she sweet-talked the security man with 1,000 Nigerian nairas. "Uncle, I beg. You sir be one Tunji? Tall, always in deep blue suit. Drives black Benz." The man looked confused. "You mean Tunde? The one that borrowed one of the tenant's car and disappeared?" Lizzy blinked. "Borrowed? N.A. fraudster. Oh. Police come find him 2 weeks ago." Lizzy felt her throat dry up. Is there a picture?" The man pulled out his phone, showed her a security snapshot. Tunji, carrying a duffel bag, scaling the back fence at night. Gone. She stood there confused and couldn't alter another word. That same afternoon, Stephanie sat with Kenneth at her shop. She looked over at him, puzzled. "You know, it's strange," she said. "What is?" "You never ask for anything. Not money, not favors. Nothing." Kane smiled. "Maybe I already have everything I need." Stephanie stared a moment too long, then looked away quickly. But Kenneth had seen the flicker in her eyes. The storm was near. But so was something softer. That evening, Kenneth handed her a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "An invitation." "To what?" "A charity fashion dinner. I want you to see something. Something you inspire." She hesitated. "I can't go. I have nothing to wear." "You do," he said. "Tomorrow, someone will deliver it." 2 days later, in the lobby of the 5-star Azure Crest Hotel, Lizzy walked in, trying to look confident. Her goal: find another rich man. Another escape route. As she strutted toward the cocktail bar, she caught a glimpse of someone familiar. Grease-free. Shaved. Wearing a designer suit. Kenneth. She gasped. That mechanic. Wait, was that a billionaire beside him? Was that the CEO of Obasi Holdings? Wait, Kenneth was socializing with dignitaries. Hosts were greeting him with deep respect. Cameras followed him. Liz's heart stopped. He lifted his head up. Boom. Their eyes met briefly. No smile. No greeting. Only silence. In a private side room, Stephanie sat on a couch, heart pounding. A custom Ankara dress fit her like poetry. She hardly recognized herself in the mirror. When Kenneth walked in, dressed in a fitted red and gold pattern designer suit, she stood, stunned. "You look like someone you've always known," he said, smiling gently. He offered her his arm. "Ready?" They stepped into the grand ballroom. Lights danced. The stage lit up. Guests turned. Stephanie's name was announced. "Tonight, we honor Miss Stephanie, a young woman whose humility and passion inspired the birth of the Tailors of Tomorrow project." Applause thundered. Kenneth leaned toward her. "Now you know what you mean to me." She couldn't believe her eyes. Near the entrance, Lizzy stood with her mouth open. Everything was spinning. The man she mocked. The mechanic she sneered at. He was this. And worse, he brought her sister as his date. She ran out of the ballroom, heels clicking against marble. Outside, at the entrance gate, she stood broken. A security guard tried to help. She waved him off. "Don't touch me. Just leave me. I've failed." Inside the ballroom, Kenneth and Stephanie stood. Soft music played. He extended his hand. "May I?" She took it. As they danced, slow and close, she whispered, "Why did you hide all this from me?" "Because I wanted to see who would love me without it. And now, I've seen." She rested her head on his shoulder. He closed his eyes. At that moment, neither cared who was watching. Back home, Mama Dora sat all alone. She looked at her daughter's empty spots. "I don't suffer to raise them, but one is going to cry the cry of regret. The other will carry my blessing." She didn't know how true those words were. Back in Lizzy's room, she stared at her reflection and cried. Her hand trembled as she opened Instagram. Stephanie's picture had gone viral. At Obasi Holdings, true love sees value, not packaging. Meet Stephanie, the soul behind our next big move. Her comment section exploded. At Niger Chop Life, mechanic billionaire? She choose well. At Real Shade Queen, Lizzy Godet cry blood now. Omo. She stared at social media account without a word. A week had passed since the fashion dinner. But for Stephanie, it felt like the ground beneath her had shifted. She no longer saw the humble mechanic with rolled-up sleeves and grease stains on his palm. Now, she saw Kenneth Obasi, CEO of Obasi Holdings, heir to one of Nigeria's wealthiest logistics empires, man who wore disguise like a second skin. She didn't know how to place her feelings anymore. Was she falling in love with the man who fixed her sewing machine? Or was she now expected to love a billionaire whose world she never dreamt of entering? It was raining lightly the evening Kenneth came to visit. No fancy car. No SUV. No guards. No private driver. Just him, holding a black umbrella and a look of uncertainty. He got to the tailoring shop. Stephanie was alone, working on a skirt. She didn't look up. "You came as Kenneth or Kane?" "I came as both." She didn't answer. He stepped closer and waited. "I should have told you earlier," he began. "But I needed to be sure. I didn't want to confuse your kindness for pity or make you think I was testing you." She looked up. "But you were." He exhaled. "Yes. I was. You came into my life as someone ordinary. And I accepted you that way. I shared my meals, my struggles, my dreams, thinking we were building something honest, but now? We were." She raised a hand. "Let me finish." He nodded. "I never imagined you were him. I didn't ask for wealth, or power, or lights and cameras. I just wanted you. Now I feel like I'm walking into a palace barefoot. Like I don't know if I belong there." Kenneth's voice dropped. "Then let me wash your feet before you enter." Her eyes filled. She didn't run into his arms. She didn't say she forgave him. She simply turned and whispered, "I need time." Meanwhile, Lizzy had begun reshaping her strategy. She cleaned up her social media. Deleted all photos of Tunji. Shared motivational quotes. Acted like a woman who had discovered clarity. But her real plan? Get Kenneth back. She rehearsed her lines. Practiced tears in the mirror. "This time, I'll be humble." She changed her looks, bought headscarf, wore loose dress, applied light makeup, and went straight to Obasi Holdings headquarters, a towering glass building in Lagos Island, looking different. She met the receptionist inside the building. "I'm here to see Mr. Kenneth Obasi." The woman checked a list. "Do you have an appointment?" I'm a close family friend." "Sorry ma, Mr. Obasi isn't seeing visitors today. Tell him it's Lizzy." The receptionist smiled politely. "You can leave a message." Lizzy waited 3 hours in the lobby. Kenneth never came down. That same night, Mama Dora sat with both daughters. She looked at Lizzy first. "So you finally came back home." Lizzy sighed. "I made mistakes, Mama." She nodded. "We all do. But your own now from pride. You wore your ego like perfume, loud and offensive." Lizzy swallowed hard. Then Mama turned to Stephanie. "And you think humility means you won't face temptation?" Stephanie looked down. Mama continued. "You both think life is about packaging, either hiding wealth or pretending to have it. But real life, it will test you. Strip you." She leaned forward, her voice dropping. "Mark my words, before the end of this story, the one who had nothing will hold gold. And the one who chased gold will meet ashes." The room was quiet. Even the night wind held its breath. Later that week, Kenneth returned. He didn't bring gifts. No security. No driver. Just a small envelope. Stephanie looked at it cautiously. What's that? A deed of land. For your tailoring school. Her eyes widened. Why? Because I believe in what you do. She took the paper slowly, her hands trembling. Cain. I can't repay you for this. I don't want repayment. I want partnership. Then he knelt, not with a ring, not yet, but with honesty. I don't want to rush you. But I want you in my life. Poor, rich, rainy day or flood. I want to build something real with you. Stephanie didn't cry. She smiled, and said softly, then let's start with bricks. One by one. One evening, as Kenneth left the tailoring shop, Lizzy waited across the street. She stepped out. Cain. He stopped, turned slowly. Her face was softer now. Her makeup light. Her voice gentle. I know I messed up. I judged you wrongly. But people change. I hope so, he said. I still think of you. I don't, he replied quietly. Liz's lip quivered. I don't hate you, he added. But I don't belong in your world, Lizzy. And you never tried to belong in mine. She stepped forward. Please, just one more chance. He shook his head. The door I entered is closed. And the heart that opened is no longer yours. He left her there and drove off. That night, a young woman in a sharp purple skirt suit visited Stephanie's shop. She introduced herself as Antonia Eze, corporate director of Obasi Holdings. I came to meet the woman who finally changed my boss, she said. Stephanie blushed. Changed? Antonia smiled. Yes, we've known him for years. Worked with him. But none of us ever saw him smile like this. She reached into her purse and handed over an invitation card. What's this? The real proposal, Antonia said. And a family dinner. You're the guest of honor. Stephanie's hands shook. She wasn't sure she was ready. But something deep inside whispered. You've been ready your whole life. Just when love began to bloom, the past returned to haunt it. Pamela's shocking revelation. Liz's rising jealousy. And a proposal caught between truth and heartbreak. Will Stephanie say yes? Will the lies destroy what was built from honesty? Find out in part 2 of The Poor Mechanic She Rejected Became Her Sister's Billionaire Husband. Where betrayal deepens, secrets unravel, and the final twist will leave you speechless. Thanks for watching. Watch out for the part 2. Remain blessed.